things tech and does a great job on that. So thanks, Todd. Let me give you a lineup of what's going to happen today on Frontline Faith with Alex Bryant. And the beginning, what's the big deal? We got a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Trump effect. This guy is bringing money to our economy here in the United States. He's saying it's about $5 trillion. We've seen, I'm gonna outline when we go over that in the show, how it's over $3 trillion. He's saying it's pushing onwards to $5 trillion of new investments in the United States. That's huge. That's huge, people, huge. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about DOGE, obviously. DOGE, what up with DOGE, you don't know. And we got some cool camera angles over here. I like it. What was that whole thing? Experiment with it again. That was kind of cool. Which camera? Oh, I can see a red light on it when the camera's on there. So we're in the studio here in Rogersville. Will Worsham Law Firm. He's one of our show sponsors. We're at his studio. And so, yeah. But so we'll talk about DOGE and PBR cutting, or PBS and NPR. Man, they're cutting it. They're going, what's up? We're examining all that. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we'll have an interesting interview. Congressman Mark Alford, he's from the 4th District, just a little bit south of Kansas City area. I used to interview him all the time on the radio every week. He does a great job. He's a sophomore congressman from the Kansas City area. And we have an interview with him, and we'll have him on here. And then we'll go into top 3 stories of the hour, 3 things we're going to hit on. Again, the PBS and that's, you guys know PBS TV and the NPR radio. They're under scrutiny, talking about defunding them. I got some thoughts on that. Trump issued a new executive order on election integrity. That's a good thing. I got some thoughts on that. And Tesla, these terrorist people that are vandalizing terrorists, it's a silly thing. I don't know what would make just rationally minded, intelligent people want to key somebody's car or set them on fire. Okay, I just answered my question when I said that. Rationally minded, because they are not rationally minded. But some of them are intelligent. Some of these people are rich, and they are vandalizing cars, Teslas, dealerships. It's absolutely ridiculous. Got some thoughts on that. And then what people are talking about, I got a few stories that I'm going to go over there. We got some funny ones. We got some not so funny ones. It's going to be a great show. So let's get after it. First segment of the day. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? Opening news story.
So have you noticed all of the new investments that are happening in the United States? There's a lot. I mean, I've been talking about it on this show. If you're watching the news, if you're seeing what's going on, you know that there's so much investment happening. It's crazy. It's pretty cool. Trump has been talking about it. He's saying it's going to happen. And he's asked the question, are you tired of winning? That's called the Trump effect. We're going to give you some of this stuff. There's some serious things happening here. Trump's asking, are you tired of winning? Here is the Trump effect on our economy and the investments in the United States. Look at all these companies that are pledging or are starting to invest in the United States. When Trump came on, he said this, we're going to make America great again. That's what he's all about, the Trump effect on investments. Here's some pledges from companies that have said, hey, Trump, we like what you're doing. We like where our economy's going, and we are pledging to spend some money. Put me on this camera right over here, Todd, so I can see this list at the same time too. Yeah, this one right here. That way I can see it. I can see my monitor TV. Oh, look at that. So now it looks like I'm looking right at the TV. You look at some of these companies that since Trump has been elected that are saying, hey, we're pledging to bring our production, our companies, we're going to be producing items back in America. Because Trump's whole thing is this, bring it to America. Come and do business in America. Produce things in America. Make your products in America. Sell them in America. If you do that, there's not going to be any tariffs. Because if you're producing your products in America, you're making them in America, your headquarters in America, that means there's going to be jobs for Americans. If you go back 20, 25 years ago, when IBM really was one of the first companies to kind of open up the global market and say, we want to do business all over the world. And IBM started doing business in Tokyo and Japan and overseas, because that's where the technology hub was going to be. And then boom, globalization. All these companies started doing business all over. American companies. Some of them moved their headquarters because these other countries are like, hey, if you come over here, you don't have to pay any taxes. You come over here, we'll give you great tax breaks. You come over here, you can get cheap labor. And these American companies were doing just that. And at the same time, we had what Trump would say, stupid politicians who were putting all kinds of regulation on Americans, on American companies, on American manufacturing. And yet we're just pushing these companies, these great American companies, into the arms of these other foreign countries. We have so many regulations. I was just thinking about this. I had to go and I had to get my brakes changed. And I noticed it early, and I was thinking, okay, hopefully I can catch this when it's just the pads, because if you just get the pads, it's obviously cheaper. It's basically half the price if it goes to the rotors. And, I heard my brakes start to squeak 3 days ago. So I make an appointment. I go in today. I get them changed. And the guy tells me, and I trust my mechanic. I've got a good mechanic. I've had him for a while. I trust him. He's like, oh, man. He goes, man, the rotors, we had to replace them because, I think they'd be fine. But, legally regulations say that we have to change them when they get to so much. These car companies love regulation. Why? Because they make more money. When we have these regulations where it's like, yeah, it could work, but regulation shows that, well, we can't send it out the door, so you got to buy new. When you go to the tires, get your new tires and stuff, and they say, oh, your tires are at a 4 or 3, we recommend that you go ahead and get them changed. You still got about a third of the life left on those tires. If they ever came and regulated them, we'd all be buying new tires like months early. And so it's just this regulation that happens. So Trump is saying to companies, produce your products here in the United States, do business in the United States, sell your products, bring your headquarters here, and you're not going to get any tariffs. But if you want to produce them overseas and you try to send it back to the United States to sell to all of our people, we're going to have to charge a tariff on it. And these companies are listening to him. The threat of these companies, look at this list right here that I have up. These are some companies that have, in the last literally 2 months since Trump has taken office, that they have pledged to do business, to bring their manufacturing to the United States. Hyundai, the car dealership, $20 billion pledge. That's in Indiana. They're going to be producing, I forget which car it is, but straight up in Indiana, like 1,400 jobs for the people there. The United Arab Emirates, they said, hey, since Trump's over there, 1.4 trillion we're going to invest in the United States. That's big. The United Arab Emirates, they're big in oil. They're trying to spend that money and invest in AI and a lot of their manufacturers, their industry. And they're saying, hey, we like your plans, Trump. We'll come over there to the United States, a $1.4 trillion investment. Saudi Arabia. Remember, they said at first they want him to come and visit him first, and Trump's like, "Hey, that might be my first international visit if they want to invest more." And so the Crown Prince calls him and says, "Hey, if you come on over, we'll invest $600 billion in the United States." That's called the Trump effect, people. Apple. Tim Cook says he's bullish about the environment and about the economy under President Trump. Apple, who has been producing a lot of their products overseas, your iPhones, my iPhones, all these products, they've been being produced overseas. But now Apple is saying, we're bullish about it. We think things are going to go well. We're going to invest $500 billion in Texas and all these different states to produce our products and our data gathering centers. SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, $100 billion. NVIDIA, that's a chip-making company, and I believe they are headquarters in Taiwan. They're saying they're going to invest $100 billion in the United States. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. Taiwan Semiconductors, $100 billion. CGM Group, I don't even know what that is, $20 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Merck, $1 billion. GE Aerospace, $1 billion. This is about a week ago when I got this list. That right there, when you look at that time, about a week ago, there's about $3 trillion in new direct investment into America in the first few weeks of the Trump administration. That's big, people. That's big. And the thing is, People know this guy is serious about his plans. They know that when Trump has an idea and he's willing to go on with it, that's what they're doing. But the media and the left, they're making a big deal about the auto industry tariffs and how, oh, well, he's going to, kill the auto industry. He's going to, crash it down and you're going to be paying higher prices for your cars, whatever. These car companies are going to realize, no, we don't want to do that. Trump's like, hey, don't raise your prices. Don't raise your prices. Because there's so much money right now in the car industry. What Trump is doing is he's looking at long term. He's looking for the future of your kids and my kids. Because right now, a lot of our American-made car companies, they are producing their products overseas, down in Mexico, because they can produce them at a fraction of the cost. They ship the parts down there, they assemble them, and then they send them back to the United States. And Trump is going, no more of that. No more of that. Trump is looking to make things in America again. That's what's up. And I like it. So again, you tired of winning? That's a Trump effect. That's a big deal right there. Love him or like him, and a lot of you guys hate him. A lot of you guys are deranged by Trump. That's huge stuff. Here's another big story right here. Big deal. Here's another one that I want to bring you to. Bret Baier did an interview with with some of the DOGE people. And you guys know the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk's team. Because all we've been hearing about the DOGE team is these young little DOGE dudes. They're 19, they're 20, they don't know what they're doing. They're going to steal your money. And, they're little nerds, they're Nazis, they're, all this and that. And the interview last night, it showed us a different tune. I watched it twice. I literally watched the whole thing, and then I went back in because I wanted to kind of get some of the thoughts that I wanted to play to you. And I'm going to play you several clips from that. But I learned some things from that interview. They are not, the media, the Democrats, they are not presenting an accurate picture of the DOGE dudes, the Department of Government Efficiency. So, they came out and said, what's the goal? They started by asking Elon Musk, what's the goal? Now, keep in mind, the United States is about $36 trillion, going on $37 trillion in debt. Can you even fathom that? That's like monopoly money. The national debt grows by $1 trillion every 100 days. So every 3 months, we add another $1 trillion to our national debt. The interest on the national debt is the government's largest expenditure. It's ridiculous. That's like, basically the United States has a payday loan. I mean, that's really the gist of it. How payday loans charge like 500% interest, and these people that go and buy, borrow $500, and they're like, hey, I just need it for, 2 months. And like, oh yeah, we'll loan it to you. But in the 2 months, you got to pay us back $900. And people that don't have any choice are like, okay, I guess I got to do it. The United States are in the middle of a payday loan. That's what's up. We're being taken advantage of. So Elon came out and he had the DOGE dudes. I got some takeaways from this, some things I learned. But let me just start by saying, here's what Elon had to say about what the goal of DOGE is. So check this clip out.
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. From a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. At a high level, you should think of this as we want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
There you have it. What's his goal? They want to save us, you, me, we the people, the taxpayers. They want to save us $1 trillion. I'm down with it, bro. I'm down with it. They want to basically reduce government spending by 15%. Guys, shouldn't we be able to do that? Everybody knows that there's waste, fraud, and abuse within the federal government. under President Bill Clinton. You go back 30 years ago. That guy said, hey, we got too many employees. We need to cut them. He slashed, in 1993, he slashed 377,000 government employees. Everybody knew we needed to slash them. There was too many people in the government. Bill Clinton slashed them. I don't remember a fraction of the outrage. Now, over the last few decades, we've slowly hired those people back. How? In government contracts. And that's where a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse is happening. We don't have employees. We got contractors doing it. And every time a contractor does a job, they always bid high. They bid high, and since the government's paying, they stretch it out. They underperform. They walk it slow because they know that the government's always going to pay until we go bankrupt or until we're insolvent. But for now, they know the government's going to borrow money, so let's get that government contract, guaranteed money. And so, man, it's so crazy. When I was watching this interview, and again, I watched it twice, the DOGE dudes on Bret Baier. Let me give you 6 takeaways that I took from this. There's so many of them. You may have taken more, but here are 6 takeaways I had after watching the interview with Elon Musk and the DOGE guys with Bret Baier. Here's the first thing. These aren't all young dudes. No. These are CEOs and billionaires. I want to say it again, billion. They said there was at least 3, up to maybe 5 billionaires. These people are literally donating their time, their energy, their efforts. They don't need to do this. These people are like, rich. They're smart. One of the guys' name was Steve Davis. He's basically the chief operating officer of DOGE. He's literally a rocket scientist. Literally a rocket scientist. This is a smart dude who has started businesses, and he's donating his time, his energy, his effort. There's another guy, Joe Gebbia. He's the co-founder of Airbnb, billionaire. Another guy that's a billionaire from Dallas who was in oil and stuff. He basically got his money in oil. Then he started 5 businesses, and he's there. He's one of the leaders in DOGE. And he's like, yeah, I told my wife I needed to do this for our kids, for our future. And she said, yeah, go do it. These guys are donating minimum about 6 months of their life. Elon's donating about a year and a half. These guys are saying, we don't need the money. We're just here because we want to serve our country. These people aren't trying to steal our money. I saw a funny video on X, I don't know, a week or so ago, because a lot of people are supporting what DOGE is doing. Now, the Democrats love to get people up in arms, and particularly they're trying to incite the black community to be frustrated by what Elon's doing. They're trying to steal from you. They're trying to steal. And this dude's like, Elon is, this dude is funny. I wanted to show the video, but he uses some colorful language. But he's like, in the history of the world, no one has made more money than Elon Musk. He doesn't need your food stamps and your bad credit. It's so true. I mean, Elon Musk doesn't need your $1,300 that you got in your savings. He's trying to save you the money. This dude is a billionaire. Money doesn't matter to him. And these other guys, they've made so much money. Like, you get to the point of where it's not about how much you can make anymore, because you've already achieved what you want to achieve. If you're a billionaire, you're one of 1,000 people in the world. At some point in time, it gets to be about legacy. And it's about the challenge to a lot of these guys. Can we do it? These people want their name to go down in history as people who were able to reform the government. And that's what they're doing. They don't need our money. They're not trying to steal our money. These are leaders who are literally putting their lives on hold to serve we the people. I'm thankful for them. So that's the first thing I noticed. These aren't just young dudes who are just trying to take advantage, who are trying to slide your Social Security number aside. These are business leaders, and these guys are literally moving. They've taken some time, 6 months, a year, whatever. They've placed their life on hold, and they moved to D.C. to help revolutionize the government and make it more efficient to save us money. They're in for the challenge. Here's a second thing that I noticed. They're using technology to locate a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse. I want you to check out this little clip. And this is from the interview last night with Bret Baier. Check this out. It's about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Anthony Armstrong, DOGE, Office of Personnel Management, Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy.
Yep.
Money. And this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades. So
it's only going up.
It's only going up. You never take it away. So that leaves you with duplicative functions, it leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with functions in the wrong places. So a couple of examples. Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned 27 CIOs. If you had kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual, by the way. Multiple offices like that.
It's also not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees there. There's many hardworking, well-meaning people who took these jobs. These jobs were out there. They applied for them. They took them. They're doing what's there. It's just that they're duplicating the effort of 40 offices. So you've got that. You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can
make any sense. Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to...
Here's a question. Why in the world do we have, like you look at that example, why in the world are there 1,400 employees who their only job is to provision, to give out laptops and cell phones to people when they come in or when they leave? It's just, it's waste, it's fraud, it's abuse. These guys are finding this through technology. They're going in, they're looking at the system. These are CEOs. These are people who've made a lot of money, and they go into that interview and they say, "Man, why can't we use the principles of business on the government to make it more efficient? Because that's how you save money." That's what Elon's. That's the whole big picture of it. That's their, the whole principle of what they're trying to do through DOGE, and they're asking the critical questions. And they keep on saying, listen, these are CEOs who are used to just, if they're leaders, they're in charge. These are alphas, type A people. And when they find something, they want to fix it right then. They're not used to the government's system of, well, we know we've located a problem like the open border, but let's wait 4 years until we get a new president to fix it. I mean, that's like, wasn't that the most ridiculous thing? Yeah, we know that like millions of people are coming across the border, and first they lie to you. They tell you it's not a problem. They try to pretend like it's not what it is. There's no crisis. There's no issue. And then all of a sudden, before another election, well, yeah, we know a problem. Well, we're trying to fix it. And well, the Republicans don't want to fix it. Then all of a sudden, Trump comes on and says, it turns out all you needed was one little thing, a new president. And so... But I mean, these are people who are used to seeing a problem and fixing a problem. And they're not used to dealing with all the government bureaucracy, all the slowness that they have. And that's what they're doing. They want to use technology to fix this problem. And I like it. Here's a third takeaway that I got from it. They say that a lot of the fraud that they're finding is because the computer systems of the government pretty much don't work well together. What's that called? Interfacing or something like that? I don't know. They're saying these computer systems, they don't play well together. They're finding that, you got all these different offices and these different organizations, which, what is there, like 380 government organizations? That's a lot. I mean, 380, there's not even that many days in the month. You got all these government organizations and they don't play well together. They're in silos. Their computer systems don't mesh. You got all these different leaders, and then you got all these other different leaders, even within the same organizations in different cities, who want to be in charge. And it's just the government way. And they know that it's bad. They know that things could be done more efficiently, but then that means they'd have to give up power and control. And so, but they say that a lot of these frauds is because these systems don't work together, and they want to change that. Like they brought up a good point. And I'm going to play this for you in a second here. But they said there are about 2.3 million government employees. 2.3 million government employees. But get this, there's 4.6 million government credit cards in use. What? That's crazy, people. Now listen, we have an American Express. And my wife and I have it, and we put our kids on it when they turn like 15, 16, and they start driving. We get them one, and we tell them, use this for emergencies, and so, we got like, 6 of them on our account, but we know what's going on with it. My wife and I monitor that. She monitors it more closely than I do. But, yeah, people in our family get it. But not only family members are getting those. And we give them for a reason. And we're monitoring that. We can't just go around giving an American Express that goes to my account with my Social Security, where I'm responsible for paying for it, to just anybody. That's what the government's doing. 2.3 million government employees, but there are 4.6 million government credit cards. That means that everyone in the government has 2 credit cards. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, people. There shouldn't be more credit cards than there are government employees. And not everybody in the government deserves a credit card. This is ridiculous. It's our money. If it wasn't our money, it wouldn't be funny. I mean, this is ridiculous, but this is what's happening. They went on to say in this interview as well, they routinely find waste of $1 billion or more. This is what they said in their own words. I want you to check out this clip. When they talk about this, they routinely find waste of $1 billion or more. And they go on, they talk about this, and you hear this where these guys are saying, and again, this is Elon Musk. He's got 6 or 8 of his key leaders, and they're just telling about what they found. This interview with Brett Baer. And when you stop and think about this, $1 billion, can you fathom? Do you know any billionaires? I think I've met 2 or 3 of them in my life, but can you imagine routinely finding waste of $1 billion, not 1 million. We're talking billion, 1,000 million. And they're routinely finding waste in that amount or not. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let me know when you're ready. Todd's like my guy back there is taking care of the technology. And but when they're talking about this, they're using this and they're finding this stuff because the computer systems of the government, they don't work well together. They don't play well. And so Elon and his team of rocket scientists, of billionaires, of people who've invented tech companies, they're coming in and they're putting their systems on here. They're going, oh, well, our system can detect this. And then you've seen how the Democrats have had a major cow. They're going, hold on, we don't want these outside systems auditing us. And shouldn't we have audits? I mean, what's wrong with auditing something? Like an audit says, hey, are things running the way we want that to? Are things efficient? Is there any fraud? Isn't this what an outside independent company is supposed to do? How come now all of a sudden we have a problem with Elon? How come we got a problem with his team of billionaires and tech geniuses? But here's what they said in that clip. Check this out.
For you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000, the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was insane.
That's absolutely ridiculous. That we pay almost $1 billion. I think they go on to give the exact number, like $876 million, to ask, do you like our national parks? They did a survey, and a government contractor charged us almost $1 billion for that. And he goes, it should have cost about $10,000. See, this is kind of waste, fraud, and abuse. And then yet you see other people that are whining and crying but they're firing too many people. I mean, I hate that anyone loses their job. It is what it is. But the reality is some of these people never should have got these jobs in the first place. And when you're in debt, you got to make some tough decisions. A company in debt can't just keep on borrowing money and saying, yeah, well, we'll just keep borrowing and hope that it changes. If a company was in debt year after year after year after year, they're going to have to lay off some people. And it's unfortunate that that has to happen. But because of mismanagement, sometimes it does. The market changes. Things come up. And the federal government, I'm sorry, but that's our taxpayer dollar. And I want people to have the opportunity to get another job, but I don't think that we should just keep on giving people money just because, we're the federal government. And it's ridiculous to be wasting this kind of money. Here's a fourth thing that I learned. They're trying to digitize the federal retirement process. That means like they're talking now about, the government retirement system. They're offering, and this is what when they came in, they're like, we wanted to kind of downsize the government. And so they said they found this out by accident because they were like, hey, well, we're going to offer these people this severance. And, Trump, they came up with this, hey, if you want to retire or if you want to leave, we'll give you 8 months severance. That's not a bad deal when you consider that the average government job is about $125,000. I didn't do the math, but what's that, about $90,000? About $90,000 severance? How much do you make a year? I mean, for some people, that's a year's salary. For some people, that's 2. Some people, that's 3 years salary. And that's the severance they're giving them to say, hey, listen, if you want to take this severance, we'll give you 8 months pay. You go and get another job. I think that's very fair. And so, but they said that when they came up with this deal and they tried to get people to retire, they were told, well, we can only retire 8,000 people a month. They go, well, what do you mean? They go, well, it takes us about 6 to 9 months to process someone when they retire, when they leave. And like, what do you mean? Well, we got to take their files to the, I think they called it the cave or the shaft. And they're like, what is this? Or the mine is what they call it. Literally, the government retirement system is done by hand. It's done by paper. And and the documents are saved in a literal mine in Pennsylvania. And so it takes... and they're like, our employees, to get somebody to process the paperwork, to take it to that mine, to put it there, we can only do about 8,000 people per month, and they do it the way our system is. And they said when they went in, they saw this, they literally have like rooms, or it's like a big old room and it's a mine, an actual mine, where they have thousands of filing cabinets, and it's got hard copy files. And so when someone tries to retire, and like, let's say you retire from your job and you want to access your benefits immediately, it takes about 6 to 9 months. Or somebody leaves to severance, it takes about 6 to 9 months. And they're going, this is absolutely ridiculous. See, that's the inefficiency that we're talking about. And we don't know these things because no one's ever come in and tried to. They said that people in the government has known that for 30 years because that process started back in the 50s. And it worked well back in the 50s when you had ladies that were going to handwrite everything, but the process has never been updated. Well, in the 80s, they tried to digitize it and update it, but there's too much pushback. And they're like, oh, no, it's just the way we've always done it. And so that's the way it's continuing to be done. Here's a fifth thing that I learned when I watched this interview, the Social Security number fraud or Social Security fraud. Now, they made it adamant that they're not going to cut anyone's Social Security money. That's where the Democrats are getting older people afraid. Like, they're going to cut your Social Security. The media is trumpeting that. They might cut your Social Security. You might not get your check. They're trying to, we can't trust them with your money. And what they've discovered is that there is massive fraud within the Social Security system. Here's one of the things they said. They've discovered that 70% of all the phone calls to the Social Security Administration are fraudulent. I don't know what 4 means there, my friend. Oh, what did I say? Oh, yeah, 40%. Thank you for watching that. Yeah, 40%. I'm sorry, it's in the notes too. 40% of all the phone calls to the Social Security Administration are fraudulent. And there's scammers that are trying to convince representatives to redirect people's benefits. Now, the thing is this. They are preying on the elderly, the older generation who aren't the most tech savvy. I'm 53, and I'm not the most tech savvy. And so my mom, your mom, my grandmother, your grandmother, our great-grandmother, our aunts and uncles who've retired 65, 70, 80 years old, and they just know, hey, I've worked my life, I've done my time, I just want my check to be there. And so you got all these scammers that are trying 40% of all the phone calls to the Social Security Administration, that's almost half of them, are from fraudulent scammers trying to redirect your Social Security benefits. That's ridiculous. So they're saying we need to digitize this thing. I want you to play this clip real fast. Todd, just about 30 seconds of this. Check this out.
For you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally a 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000, was the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
So, there was a different clip, I think I might have put in the wrong one, that they wanted to show that they're again asserting, they're talking about the waste, the fraud, the abuse, but 40% all phone calls to the Social Security Administration are fraudulent. But then they said again that 15 million people who they talked about this came out a couple of weeks ago, and everyone wanted to make fun of it. We talked about it on this show, but they once again are asserting, they're saying this because everybody's like, there's no way that 15 million people over 120 years old receiving benefits, taxpayer money. Remember, Trump even talked about this in his speech. So they're tripling down, quadrupling down on the fact that on the government's files, there are at least, they're saying, 15 million people. Listen, Todd, put me on this camera because I want to say this right to you guys. I want you to hear me this. What they found with DOGE is that at least 15 million people on the government files and records are in the database as 120 years old or higher. Remember, Trump said there's one person that's in there 360 years old. They are receiving our taxpayer Social Security money. Just stop and think about that. So 15 million people, they're marked as alive. So if they're marked as alive, they're over 120 years old, they're receiving money from Social Security. This is our taxpayer money, guys. I think that anyone who's worked for our country, you've served, you've paid in Social Security, you should get what is yours. But when you're dead, I think your family gets a little bit of that for a while, if it's like a dad or spouse, whatever. But then once you're out, it's done. And we can't have all this fraud. And they're saying that a lot of times these are other countries, people, little fraudsters and scammers in other countries who know how to hijack these benefits. This is why we need DOGE to investigate this stuff. Why are we fighting against it? And they're using technology in a wonderful way. They're trying to digitize the government, and I love it. Here's the sixth thing I got from this. They talked about in their interview last night, and again, these are with some of the DOGE guys, with the Brett Baer interview. They talked about how there are good mid-level government employees who see the benefit of this. And I like it because there are a lot of good people that work in the government that are like, listen, we know that we can do this better, and we want to do it better and more responsibly. So check out this little clip here. This is what they had to say.
Tyler Hassan, Interior Department, you're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What do you find?
Yeah. Clearly, there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy?
Absolutely. I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley and the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired, right? Especially on the retirement process, which I can speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. The changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
Up next, the DOGE team on flaws they're finding in digital.
So the deal is this. I love it. I love that we're looking at the best of Silicon Valley and the best of the business world, and we're trying to make our government more efficient. Why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't anybody? And they're talking about trying to save $1 trillion. And this is all just a part of what Trump is trying to do, which is to give, in the Congress, which is to balance the budget, to submit a balanced budget amendment. So we're going to have, again, I'm all for it. I'm all for DOGE. I'm all for what's happening here. A little bit more on this. I'm going to have an interview with Congressman Mark Alford. I pre-recorded this interview, and we go into DOGE a little bit. Congress has the power of the purse. They're working with Elon Musk. They're working with DOGE. They want to submit a balanced budget because that's the responsible thing to do. And so we're going to show this interview with Congressman Mark Alford, and we'll do that right after a word from our sponsor, Will Worsham Law Firm. So check this out.
I'm Will Worsham. After 20 years in criminal law, I shifted gears because I saw too many families suffer when the estate plan they thought was solid wasn't. Parents thought they had it all taken care of, only for their kids to find out too late that they didn't. That's why I created Worsham Workshops, entertaining, informative sessions where families learn to avoid the most common pitfalls in estate planning. You don't have to leave your family's legacy to chance. Join a Worsham Workshop and see why so many families trust us with their legacy. Visit worshamworkshops.com or call us today.
Interesting interviews.
All right, check out this interview with Congressman Mark Alford. All right. Well, welcome back to Frontline Faith with Alex Bryant. We have a privilege and an honor to have Congressman Mark Alford join us. He represents the 4th District. That's up near the Kansas City area, just a little bit south of there. And I used to have him on Wake Up Springfield with me all the time. Literally, he's one of my favorite guests to interview. When I was running for Congress 3 years ago, he was actually running, and now he's in his second time. I guess you'd be considered a sophomore congressman, and he's making a lot of waves, doing a lot of good stuff. So Congressman Alford, thanks for joining us on Frontline Faith. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm great, Alex. Good to hear your voice and see your face now. We didn't get to see each other in your radio days, but you don't have a face for radio.
Well, thank you, because I was starting to get a little complex there. I was told that an awful lot. Well, I'm going to dive right in because there's a lot that I want to ask you about. And again, thanks for joining us here this morning. So yesterday, NPR and PBS, they were before Congress, before Marjorie Greene and their committee. And I just look at it like this. They're getting the grilling that is due to them for years. They have been taking my taxpayer dollars, a lot of our conservative taxpayer dollars, and they've had their agenda, and now it caught up with them. So your thoughts on what's going on with that situation there?
Look, historically, NPR and PBS have done some good. My kids love watching Barney. You know, I grew up with Sesame Street. I get it. But PBS in particular has changed over the years. I think NPR traditionally has been liberal, and it's really gotten to a propaganda mode, especially I think since Trump's first term. But PBS is an educational format, all right? And at the time when we started investing in that to support PBS, of course, they do their own funding drives. I thought it was a worthwhile venture, and some of the programs still are worthwhile funding, I think, for the educational level of our young people. Think about during COVID, a lot of kids were watching PBS for education, along with their online from schools. But what's happened over the years is two things. PBS has started doing news programs that lean left, all right? They do not have the balance, context, and perspective that a traditional news outlet would have, and they've become more left-leaning. Taxpayers don't need to be funding that part of it. They're also raising money through donations. You see the drives that they have on television. They have them in Kansas City. But they also, when they first started out, they would have a program that is underwritten. So you might have a wildlife show and it will come on. This program was underwritten by so-and-so insurance company. Now they have commercials that you can't tell the difference between commercial television and government funded television. And I think that's wrong. They have got to make up their mind who they are and what they want to be. Do they want to operate in the public interest under the Communications Act of 1934? I'm not saying they should lose their license, but we definitely need to look at the level of funding and see if we can, if they are going to be able to stay in business with some taxpayer support, they've got to be fair and balanced.
Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, it's obvious that it's not. I think it was PBS when and I remember when on the radio, I don't know, a year or so ago, when the one editor with PBS was like, "Hey, we did an assessment. We realized that what 87 of them were Democrats and not one conservative. How's that
Right.
fair and balanced?" And then with their new CEO that came over from Wikipedia, to me it just appears like you guys were liberal. You guys thought you could get away with it because you had a liberal in the White House, and now you've been caught. And so, why do you need our taxpayer dollars when they say it only makes up about 1% of their funding anyway? Just leave my money alone if you want to be left liberal leaning like that. It's like MSNBC; they don't need my money to put on their product. Do what you want to do. So I'm glad that you guys are looking at that. I'm glad that Marjorie Taylor Greene was all over it. She was grilling them, and so thank you guys for looking at situations like that. So. I want to ask you about Elon Musk and Doge. We the people support what's happening there. It baffles me, Congressman Alford, that the people who are spending our money and hiding our money, misusing our money, frauding us out of our money, are now mad that the guy who is reporting this. It doesn't make sense. I mean, help me understand what's going on here. Why are people mad at Elon? And is this going to stop him at all?
It's not going to stop him because he's operating under the direction of the chief executive, who under Article 2 has the authority to appoint whom he wants to carry out his mission for the executive branch. And all these executive agencies and bureaucracies that Elon Musk and the DOGE team are touching are under the authority of President Trump. And by the way, under a previous program, the authority of the woman, her name escapes my mind right now, who actually runs this department, who has been with this program, and Obama started it during his administration. Yeah. So it's not something new. It has a different face, and that's Elon Musk, and people don't like it. I guess because he's rich. I don't know why that should matter, but he gets things done.
Yeah.
They have come in very swiftly, and that the abrupt changes and the severe cuts in many areas that need to happen are creating a bit of chaos. If there's anything I would like to see more of, it's better communication between the White House and Congress on this, so that we can better communicate with our constituents. Because when there is change like this, a drastic sea change, which needs to happen, it creates a lot of confusion and fear among people. I think even some Republicans, even some conservatives. The more we can communicate with them ahead of time. Now, the reason they had to move so swiftly is because they knew that if they did not, that the Democrats would try to head them off at the pass. And we're seeing this now with the out-of-control judiciary, which is trying to stop them on the back end. If they had moved more slowly, none of this ever would have gotten done. So did they make mistakes? Yes, they've made some mistakes along the way, but they are rectifying those mistakes, correcting those, and in the long run, it's going to be beneficial for reducing our deficit, which is now almost $37 trillion.
So, Congressman, and you are one of them who are in Congress, and we know that Congress has the power of the purse. I think that some people who definitely don't like it, and friends of mine who they post their little memes over Facebook, can we talk about the way that it's supposed to happen and see what's happening? Because it's my understanding, Congress, you guys control the power of the purse. I thought that DOGE was going to recommend what should be cut or what shouldn't make it into the budget. And then I also understood that they could cancel, or can they cancel some of the contracts that shouldn't be there? Or do they just say, hey, this is what we recommend being canceled? How should that work, and how is it working right now?
We have a couple of different processes. I am now on the Appropriations Committee, and that's what we're going to be doing when we get the president's budget. It will have these cuts factored into that, and the recommendation of the president that'll be determined by the speaker and Senate Majority Leader. And when they get a final number, then we take it back to the 12 separate appropriations subcommittees. I'm on 4 of those, and we'll begin working the numbers. And we will take the president's recommendations on these cuts. This is particularly like the USAID program, which has been a problem for a long time, Alex.
Yeah.
And no one here in Congress really wanted to do anything about it. Some of these programs slipped through because we did not do our job on the authorizing committees and on the appropriations committee. That's not going to happen any longer. And we're going to take these programs, we're going to adjust them. I'm in favor of changing the USAID program into my recommendations, the National Security Investment Projects. If it doesn't have to do with national security, we should not be doing it. We shouldn't be spending. Now, a lot of things can fit in that bucket, okay? And I can go into long explanations about that, of investments that we do make around the world so that we have partners when we need them. So that CENTCOM, when they need to go bomb the Houthis, we have a landing strip to take off from in Jordan, okay? These relationships matter.
Yeah.
But we do need to do it the right way. The other process we have is a recession process. By the recommendation of the president, we can go into these programs and vote to take out money out of these programs. That's the way it's supposed to work. We're going to be doing that. This first step, though, it is severe and it is sudden. It is shock and awe. And we are going to make these adjustments in Congress, and we're going to do our job to help the president make America first again.
Yeah. You can tell. I mean, for some of us who obviously, I give the benefit of the doubt to what President Trump is doing. I voted for him. I like him, but the haters are coming out. And the same is true with our Congress. I mean, I love the fact that we have a Republican controlled Congress, Republican controlled Senate, and obviously the president. And so we give the benefit of the doubt, but you see some people, the haters and the people, they look at every opportunity to go, see, here we go. They're at it again. There's no oversight. And this is actually what they were doing under President Biden. And that is a frustrating deal. I do want to kind of talk about this when we're talking about the budget. I know that you guys just passed another continuous resolution, the CR, a short term. That's been contentious because I know ever since you arrived in Congress, that's not been your goal. Talk to those people who say, well, why did you sign another CR, when, it's like, hey, we haven't been wanting to do those anymore. So tell us why that ended up happening.
Alex, thanks for that, because as you know, I have voted against continuing resolutions. And for those who don't know what that is, basically, I talked about the appropriations process, 12 separate committees vote out their bill on particular issues. It goes to the House floor. Last year, we were able to get all 12 out of committee, which is the first time that's happened in a long time, under Tom Cole, our new chair. We only got 5 passed on the House floor. So the other 7, how do you fund? By the way, that was about 75% of the government funding. The Senate did nothing on their end. So we could have passed all of them. The Senate under Chuck Schumer still wouldn't have done anything. But we're making progress, and our goal is to get all 12 passed on the House floor this year. The problem is we have people in our conference who will not vote in favor of an appropriations bill unless it is absolutely perfect in their eyes. Some who want to go back to pre-COVID level spending. And look, I get it. We need to reduce our spending. But and they want to take drastic measures. And if it's not perfect, they're willing to shut down the government over that. I don't think that's the best method to run a government either. It hurts our military. I'm dealing with military contractors all the time who need certainty so that they can move forward with projects to rebuild our military so we can compete with communist China, which is very important. I've talked about that before. We've got to get back to the regular order process. We've got to get our team together with 1 or 2 seat majority. All it takes is 2 people to say no to something, and it's going to scuttle a bill. The difference now is 2 things, Alex. We have President Trump, who's able to gently persuade those members who are hesitant to vote for something unless it's perfect.
He's the leader. I mean, he's the strong leader.
We saw it with the House resolution budget. He called them down to the White House and had a little come to Jesus meeting, okay? The other thing is we have the U.S. Senate now. And while we still need 60 votes to avoid a filibuster, there are some things that we can do especially under this reconciliation process where we need a simple majority to get things passed like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which if we don't do that, it's going to be the largest tax increase in U.S. history.
You know, and here's the reality of it. I mean, in principle, I'm for not having these CRs, these continuous resolutions, because we're supposed to have our balanced budget and bill that's passed. But it is a process to get to it, and I can understand why this time we had to go with this CR again, because I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
with DOGE coming in, the president is serious about making cuts. You guys, as Republicans, are serious about making cuts, which is going to give the relief to us taxpayer dollars. It's going to start to address this budget, or the deficit that's at almost $37 trillion. It goes up by about $100 trillion every 90 days. And so for this, because I'm like, hey, I don't want to see any more CRs. When we talked on the radio a year ago, 2 years ago, it's like, no more of these CRs. But this one is a situation where it gets us in position to see these the bill that's going to balance this budget. And so it's situational. You got to be willing to pivot.
Well, imagine if we had not and the government was shut down right now. We couldn't work on the reconciliation package. We couldn't work on, we're expecting to get the president's 2026 budget sometime in May. We couldn't be doing any of that. It would have been a distraction, a hindrance, and a roadblock to getting the president's agenda done. And so now we've just frozen spending till the end of September, frozen the programs. There are some what they call anomalies for the Defense Department. We got through the 14.5 pay increase for lower level enlisted in the U.S. military, long overdue, not nearly enough, but it's a first step. It's a means to an end by which we can carry on the president's agenda. We are making changes, but this is like turning an aircraft carrier. It's not a ski boat on Table Rock Lake. Okay, this is turning an aircraft carrier, and it's a big wide turn.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you guys got it passed, because I think it was Thomas Massey saying, I'm not going to vote on it. There was some of the question, but Speaker Johnson, man, I know he's a man of faith, and he had to be praying. This is frontline faith. And so, but it was good that you guys passed it. We'll see if Fetterman or whoever else can come, some common sense Democrats in the Senate can get on board and say, this is a good thing. So thanks for your work on that. Congressman, I got just a couple more. We're talking with Congressman Mark Alford. He is representing the 4th District up in the Kansas City area. I got a lot of viewers on Frontline Faith from that area, because I used to pastor up in Oak Grove. Shout out to New Life, there. And but Congressman, that is right up there. So, but Congressman, it's been announced that there is a new F-47 fighter jet, and I know the Whitman Air Force Base is in your district up there.
Right.
So, will you guys have any say in that? You're a military district, but I mean, tell me your thoughts on that. The new F-47. I presume it's 47 after President 47. Well,
I heard somebody else said that all the numbers between 35 and 47 are taken up by secret projects that we're working on.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. It sounds funny. But this was a big competition between Lockheed Martin and Boeing. And I'm so glad that Missouri's hometown company, Boeing, over in St. Louis, got this contract. They do great work. They've taken a lot of heat lately on their commercial airline program. And look, Boeing's a great company, has a great history. I believe in them. It's good to have those workers in Missouri. I'm working with Mike Kehoe, our new governor, to turn the Show Me State into the Grow Me State with infrastructure projects. I'm on the Appropriations Committee now. I'm trying to bring those projects, responsible projects, back home so that we can increase our population and grow Missouri. And Kehoe and his team are working on the tax policies there, trying to get rid of the state income tax, I think, which will be a big boon. If you look at the growth right now in the states that are having active growth, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, there's states that don't have a state income tax.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that people want to move there. They want to have families, traditional God family, Second Amendment, hard work, and invest in the future for their families. And part of that is recapturing a lot of the money, not letting it go to government, and keeping it in the communities.
Congressman, I personally know 8 families that have moved out of crazy California because of that 13% income tax. We got another friend of ours that's moving from crazy Colorado next month. And it's just crazy stuff going on there. So Congressman Alford, thanks for your time. Let me just ask this. What are you working on that we need to know about what some of the projects or some of the things. I saw that you were on a district tour. I believe it was you drove maybe, I want to say 600 miles or something in just a day or two.
Almost 700 miles. Yeah, we're putting a lot of time, windshield time in, because I feel like it's very important, especially in this day and age where, Alex, I have done in my first 2.5 years, 92 town halls, in-person town halls, coffees, Mondays with Mark, coffee with a congressman, fentanyl forums. I've been all over the state, mainly in our district, yes, listening to people. The unfortunate reality is the crazy woke progressive part of the Democrat Party does not want to have a discussion about what's going on in America. They want to scream and shout. They're flailing, drowning victims out in the deep end, and they want to take everyone down with them. They have no message, no vision, and no leader. And so it makes it very difficult to have gatherings where like we're talking right now. I love talking to people who I don't agree with and don't agree with me. Let's have a discussion and try to win each other over and agree to disagree where we need to. You can't do that now. And so we are still putting together our town hall tour. We made 16 stops. They're always in August this time of year. We're doing used to Mark Alford. And we're going to make sure that we answer the tough questions and have a respectful dialogue with our constituents.
Well, thanks for all that you're doing, Congressman. I'm going to get you out of here on this. I got to get your comment. I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and my Bears just stole one of your Pro Bowl guards, Joe Thuney. Yeah.
Well, I've got my Royals blue tie on, and you can't see him. I can't lift my leg up this high, but I've got blue shoelaces on. So I'm trying to fly back to watch the last couple of innings of the Royals game today, opening day at the K. So thank you for all you do, Alex. God bless you. You're a good man of God and just a good human being.
You too, Congressman, and thank you for all you're doing to represent us there in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being a man of faith, a family man. Congressman Mark Alford of 4th District, thanks for joining us on Frontline Faith. We got to get you back again.
All right, take care.
All right. Hey, I got another announcement. Thank you, Congressman Alford, for that. Love having him on the show. We got an announcement coming up in the middle of April, Saturday, April 12th, to be precise. Prayer on the Square. If you live here in the Springfield area, in Springfield or in the area, on Saturday, April 12th, Park Central Square from 1:30 to 2:30, just about an hour. I'll be hosting it. We'll have several other community leaders out there. We'll come, we'll pray together. And this is brought to us by Concerned Pastors of Southwest Missouri. And so we're providing an opportunity for the body of Christ to unite in prayer for our city, trusting that God will hear. And this is a time for us to seek God for forgiveness and to petition him to heal the city. We have to have this. So I know that I participated in a few of these the last few years, and I'll be emceeing it again and again, brought to us by Concerned Pastors of Southwest Missouri. Prayer on the Square, Saturday, April 12th. That's just about 2 weeks away. Saturday, April 12th from 1:30 to 2:30. Join us at Park Central Square for a great time of prayer. And so I'm looking forward to you being there. So, hey, let's get to our next hour. We got, we don't have our, we got our little opener video here. We'll play it for you and get you a little sponsor, but let's get it going. Keep it going.
Top stories of the day.
All right, top 3 stories of the day. I just got a few of them for you today. The first one is this. PBS and NPR, National Public Radio, they are under scrutiny. You might ask, what do you have against Big Bird? What do you have against Elmo? Because that's where PBS, you've watched it. I've watched it growing up as kids. I can remember, when all we got when we were growing up, when I was a kid, we were poor. All we got was public television, and national public radio, but public broadcasting. But here's the deal, man, they have been extremely liberal lately. They are spreading left-leaning propaganda. The statistics are showing it. The data is showing it. And we didn't know it for a while. I remember when I was younger, I didn't know if Walter Cronkite was a Republican or a Democrat. I don't remember Ted Koppel knowing their politics, and even early on with Peter Jennings. But like over the last 25, 30 years, I can remember watching it with George Bush and just going, man, they're dogging this guy. Yeah, he was, George Bush stumbled over his words every now and then, but I remember thinking, dude, they're just blasting him. And then, of course, when President Clinton was back on, you didn't see the negativity. Then you had Obama, the media darling. And I was like, okay, it's obviously different. And then they couldn't stand Trump. So now it's just open. It's public. They don't care. They just, if you're not blasting Trump, then something's wrong with you. That's kind of their mindset. And so PBS, National Public Radio, they have shown their liberal bias, their left-leaning propaganda, and they got caught. And now NPR and specifically NPR, they are extremely biased, and it's without question. Their CEO of National Public Radio, Catherine Mayer, she is a left-leaning, she came from Wikipedia, and she appeared before Congress yesterday, or a couple days ago, and it was so interesting. Now, did you say that did we have this video? No, we couldn't play this one. Oh, you got a clip? Okay, let's see what we got on that. Let's check this clip out.
Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR. He said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization. What's happening to your listeners over the last 5 years? Went up, down, or stayed the same?
It has gone up and down and is now going back up.
I thought 5 years ago it was at 60 million. And you said in your opening statement, I think 43 million.
That's correct.
So 43 million now, and it was at 60 million 5 years ago. I can do some math. That looks like it went down.
And is now going back up.
Is now going back up?
So, yeah, they're talking about the viewership. But anyway, you got Jim Jordan, who is questioning Catherine Mayer. She is the CEO of NPR. If you go back and look at her her Twitter feed, she's just open. It doesn't, she's blatant about it. She was at Wikipedia. Now she is leading National Public Radio. And Jim Jordan referenced an article that this guy named Yuri Berliner, he was a former editor at National Public Radio, NPR. And he said after the whole Trump thing, and then, what really kind of got his eyes opening was after Joe Biden's debacle at the debate, when it was obvious that he was declining, no one wanted to report it. And then he started to look back and go, no one wanted to report about Hunter Biden's laptop. They said that it was fake. And he's like, why? What's going on? So this is, again, Yuri Berliner, I think he was like 22 decade plus at NPR. He's like, I just started to look around and I realized, he goes, 87 of the editors there at NPR were Democrats and they had 0 Republicans. And he started to talk about how that's just crazy groupthink. Now, Catherine Mayer, she has to be lying. If she's either lying or she's dumb when she says that she's never seen instances of political bias determining editorial decisions. Come on. You either are lying or you're dumb, because this guy, Yuri Berliner, wrote this article about it a year ago, and then they forced him into early retirement. He was ready to leave anyway. But this guy admitted it, and they're just going, nope, we still don't have it. Now, the problem with this is this. If you want to be a left-leaning show like MSNBC, do it. If your network is left-leaning, by all means, knock yourself out. MSNBC, They are as left-leaning as they come. They don't try to deny it, but they're not getting taxpayer money. CNN tries to say that they, are not, but obviously we see their bias. But again, they don't get taxpayer money. Fox News, they obviously lean right. They're a little bit, right-leaning on that. They don't get taxpayer money. But when you talk about National Public Radio and, PBS, Public Broadcasting System, those guys are supposed to be unbiased because they're taking our taxpayer dollars, Republican and Democrat. And when they're taking our conservative taxpayer dollars and they're dissing us, that's not good. And they're showing their bias. There's their editorial and their the articles they put up and the things they say. There was one study done, and they have a lot of these Harvard and these different schools. They go in these grad schools, and they kind of look and see what's going on. I think it was like 150 times where they use the phrase the far right, and only 6 times they use far left. Come on, man. It's an obvious media bias. And so our taxpayers, they're funding NPR, PBS to the tunes of billions of dollars every single year. Now, I just looked at this. I'm going to the readers on this one because I got a little list here. When you look at, like, for example, the CEO of PBS, Paula Kerger, she makes $1 million, $1,014,000. That's a lot of money, taxpayer money. The COO, Chief Operating Officer, makes $639,000. The CFO, $617,000. The Chief Digital Officer, $511,000. This is a lot of money. I mean, you just go down the list. The Chief Technical Officer, $494,000. Chief Legal Officer, $488,000. The GM Children's Media, $474,000. The CFO Treasurer, $438,000. One of the junior vice presidents, $434,000. I'm like sitting here going, this is all this is just to PBS. That's a lot of money. And they're getting a lot of our taxpayer dollars, and they're putting out a product that is not conservative. It's not indicative of our values. A lot of times they're making fun of our values. They're blasting us. They're pushing the trans ideology and their narrative, the critical race theory, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar because they're getting away with it under President Joe Biden, the Kennedy Center, all these the liberal things. Now Trump is going, no, we're going to reform that stuff. Trump's like, I think now the leader of the Kennedy Center. He fired that guy and said, I'll do it. I'll handle it, because they want to get the bias out of it. I believe in the arts. You believe in the arts. I believe in the public television, public radio, the performing arts and all that. My kids are very much in the performing arts, but I don't want their agendas being, the liberal agenda being pushed on them while they are exploring their love and their passion for that. And that's why this stuff is important, because if it starts at those higher levels, it just naturally trickles down to our kids, our grandkids. And then the next thing you know, our kids are growing up thinking that, they were born gay and that, there's 90 different genders and that they're a cat. And we're going, hold on a second, how'd this happen? Well, we let it seep in to the performing arts, and our kids naturally want to sing, they want to act, they want to play instruments, which is all good. Again, my 3 kids that are still in the house, 3 high schoolers, they are all 3 of them involved in choir, band, acting. Love it. I know Todd's daughter, his daughter and his youngest daughter and my kids, they're in band together. And so we are all for that. But I don't want your agenda with your radical ideology being forced on our kids. And so that's why, hey, NPR, PBS, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and I don't want to fund you anymore. Revoked. You need to, if you're pushing that ideology, then you need to get your money from all these other people, period. Hey, I got another top story for you. Trump, he has issued an election integrity executive order requiring proof of citizenship to vote and a lot of other good stuff. Missouri's very own Will Scharf, he is Trump's one of his advisors for the executive orders. One of his advisors in the White House works closely with him. I'm going to show you this video. Here's what Will Scharf had to say right before Trump signed this executive order. Check this out.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order for your attention on the very important subject of election integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on and on for a while, sir, but compliance with national election day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot in here, but we believe that these are very important steps that we need to be taking as an administration at your direction to ensure that our elections are as secure as they possibly can be.
Okay, you all understand that? Yes. Election fraud, you've heard the term. We'll end it, hopefully. At least this will go a long way toward ending it. There are other steps that we will be taking in the coming weeks, and we think we'll be able to end up getting fair elections. Perhaps some people think I shouldn't be complaining because we won in a landslide, but we got to straighten out our election. This country is so sick because of the election, the fake elections and the bad elections, and we're going to straighten it out one way or the other.
I wonder if he's using the auto pen there. Okay, a little dig there. But, this election integrity thing is big, it's important, because we all believe that every American should have one vote, one person. That's like the ultimate equalizer. I don't care how much money you have, billionaires, you only get one vote. And I get one vote as well. And so that is the one thing that makes us all in the same level playing field. And the whole deal with the election integrity is important, because you go back to the 2020 election, you can't tell me that there wasn't some cheating, some irregularities. You can't tell me. I remember watching it that night in 2020 when it was Trump versus Joe Biden. Joe Biden had spent all the pandemic in his basement, didn't get out, tried to do a couple outside events, went to like some drive-through, had 15 people show up, and Trump is still like, killing it. You can't, and then all of a sudden Trump is up winning in Pennsylvania and Georgia, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute. We need to go to, I don't see, they're right here to the middle. So then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Trump's winning in Georgia, he's winning in Atlanta. Then they're like, oh, there's a pipe that broke, and the place where we're counting the ballots, so we're going to just send everybody home. We'll get it all figured out. Trump was up. He was up like by pretty well. And then next thing you know, the next morning when they come back, oh, all of a sudden Biden's up by 2 or 3 points. It's like, wait a minute, what happened? You hear all this stuff. They did. If you ever watched the 2000 Mules, what's that guy's name? I forget his name. Smart guy, Dinesh D'Souza, 2000 Mules, his documentary. I mean, they go and they talk about how they use cell phone geo-tracking to show that these people were going to ballot boxes multiple times. Like, you can't tell me that that's not proof of some irregularity. What's going on here? And so, so now we're saying this, hey, listen, every American, not illegal alien, if you're an American citizen, that means that you're born here or you become a citizen here, you should be able to vote. Let's do it. I would even say I'm open for a conversation for people that were felons. If you've done your time, you've rehabilitated in, I'd be open for a conversation about allowing them to have a pathway to voting again. But not illegal immigrants. Not, and people say, oh, well, that's not happening. Well, yes, it is. Absolutely it is. So what this new executive order is going to require is proof of citizenship to vote, proof of the United States citizenship. There's a federal coordination within the states to verify voter eligibility, because right now different states can do how they want to, and I get that. I mean, I'd be almost even for like I wouldn't have minded him making it like election day for the president, a national holiday. Just take off, go vote, spend time with your family. I'm not against something like that. They're going to withhold federal funds from states that do not comply with federal integrity laws. They're going to crack down on states or on late ballots. That's the thing about it too. I just think there's the voting, there's just too much opportunity for some states to cheat. 3 months to vote, 90 days, 60 days, vote early, vote late. We'll count your vote 2 years later if you did. No, bro. If Florida, with their 26 million people, can get all their stuff counted before midnight, every state should be able to. I'm sick of California that's like, well, we got to wait at least 4 weeks to decide who wins the congressional races. That's stupid. We are America. We can use technology. Or we can use, I'm down with even paper ballots, but I'm down with technology counting this stuff or at least submitting the results. We can pay more election workers, whatever we want to do, but we're America. And we need to make sure that you get one vote. There's no cheating. Both parties should have their election officials there. Get the integrity going. And then they're going to prosecute people of election crimes to the DOGE. Like those people that Dinesh D'Souza showed during the geo-tracking 2,000 Mules, those people should be at least investigated because something went down. I want those people to be questioned. How did it happen? You got things like ballot harvesting with Stacey Abrams down there in Georgia. It's legal in some states. It's not in other states. This stuff needs to be looked at. And so he's also, this executive order that Trump just signed revokes Biden's executive order on elections and a lot of other stuff. So it's called the Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections. That's what it is. And so free, fair, and honest elections, unmarred by fraud, by errors, or by suspicion, they're fundamental. And it's very constitutional, and we need that. Now, you say, well, there's not other people voting in other elections. Oh, yes, there are. In at least 17 Democrat-controlled cities and municipalities across our country, they have laws that allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. Like I remember hearing this for the first time and researching this when I was on the radio. Like, so for example, in Arizona, Kari Lake was one that was like looking into this big time. In Arizona, they go back to, or when the Congress passed the Motor Voter Act, one of the little loopholes says, you just have to have an address and you got to have, it doesn't say proof of citizenship. It says you got to have an address and you got to have an ID to vote in the state elections. So since it doesn't say you have to be a citizen, they allow non-citizens to vote in the local elections. So they can vote for state reps, state senate, mayors, governors, stuff like that, but they can't vote in national elections. So these non-citizens are indeed voting in some of these races, for the congressional races and so on and so forth. Why do you think the Democrats were trying to open up the border and allow all these people to come in? They're pushing them to other districts so they can have a better pathway to cheat. There's a New York City law allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections. It was struck down actually last week. In addition, some states, a court order prevents officials from asking for proof of citizenship. I got friends that told me about this in Connecticut and in New Jersey. They told me, they're like, man, they said they can't even ask for it in those states. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So once an illegal immigrant obtains a driver's license, which some states are giving them, and they just show that identification, you got an address, you go in, you're voting. There's cheating happening, but Trump's executive order is going to crack down on that. Here's the third top story of the hour, or of the day. These Tesla terrorists, man, they're being arrested and they're being charged. I love watching some of these videos and the pictures of them crying, of them whining about getting elected. There was a man that was arrested. This is one of the biggest ones down in Vegas when he set one of the dealerships. He threw Molotov cocktails and he attacks these Tesla dealerships in Las Vegas. He's going to be facing federal charges. His name's Paul Hun Kim. He's 36. He faces multiple charges, including arson, and they're trying to get him for domestic terrorism. That's when at least 5 cars were set on fire. That was March 18th at the Tesla Collision Center. get them. If you're silly enough to do something stupid like that, get them. I mean, people got to control their anger, control their attitudes, control their emotions, because that is absolutely ridiculous. And you should be prosecuted if you're going to do something stupid like that. There's a crazy lady that was caught damaging a Tesla Model Y. She's been identified as millionaire 55-year-old Camelia Ensler. I'm going to show you this video, and there's no sound to it, so I'll keep talking. This is absolutely unbelievable here. Close up on this one. Like, I can't imagine, all right, over here, I can't imagine being her husband. And because it was caught, you know, they posted online. They're like, help us find this lady. Well, they found her. Again, her name is Camelia Ensler. Now, she's married to one of the lead engineers at DocuSign. His name is Jeff Ensler. How'd that conversation go when she got home? Because I'd be like, baby, what were you doing? Like, what were you? I've always told you you need to learn to control yourself. Like, how did that conversation go when she got home? Because, I mean, they're nailing these people. You're talking about paying the damage, and then they're talking about prosecuting them. I mean, dude, because you are mad at Trump and you can't stand him, and now you're mad at Elon. You have TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, and now it's going to cost you. Like, don't these people know? This is a millionaire. Don't these people, and her husband was the lead engineer at DocuSign. Don't these people know that Teslas have like 9 cameras all around them? But like, you know, get them. That's all I got to say. Get them. So, hey, we're almost coming to the end of the show. We're going to get to another look at our sponsor, Will Worsham Law Firms, and then we'll come back with what people are talking about, and we'll go ahead and land this plane.
I'm Will Worsham. After 20 years in criminal law, I shifted gears because I saw too many families suffer when the estate plan they thought was solid wasn't. Parents thought they had it all taken care of, only for their kids to find out too late that they didn't. That's why I created Worsham Workshops, entertaining, informative sessions where families learn to avoid the most common pitfalls in estate planning. You don't have to leave your family's legacy to chance. Join a Worsham Workshop and see why so many families trust us with their legacy. Visit worshamworkshops.com or call us today.
All right, just a couple things and what people are talking about. I get some of this stuff on Twitter. People send me some things, some stuff I see in the local news. So I got a couple of them for you today. I saw this story a few months back. There's a sheriff down in Kentucky. He gunned down a judge in his chambers like in cold blood. Todd, show that photo. This is former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mikey Stens. He's accused of murdering District Judge Kevin Mullins. Like, literally goes into the judge's chambers. They had just had a meal together, and so we don't know why he did it. They don't have that. There's speculation that it involved, you know, some craziness, but this was all caught on video. I remember when it first came out, the video was going out, but the guy walks in, he's the sheriff, had just had a meal with the judge, and then he goes into his chamber. They get into it a little bit. They're just a quick little argument. The sheriff pulls out a weapon, and he ends up firing 2 into him, kills him. Crazy. And now this sheriff is claiming insanity. That's what his defense is. See, if I was the judge that did this trial, it'd be easy for me. I'd be like, nah, bro. No, you've been a sheriff for way too long. You knew better. And as a matter of fact, we don't even need to try this joker. I saw it on video. You're guilty. Don't waste anybody's money. Don't waste our time. You're guilty. You're not insane. You've been carrying around a weapon for I don't know how long. Don't even try that mess. Guilty. Book him. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know, this judge, who they say was close to retirement, gunned down by not some crazy criminal from the streets, but from a judge, or excuse me, from the sheriff, who's supposed to be like one of the leaders in the community, like over bailiffs and stuff, killed in his own chambers. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. So, no, not going to work with me. Let's go to Stephen A. Smith. Okay, so listen to this. You guys know I love sports. I love watching it. I don't know if you've been watching the beef, the feud between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. Now, they don't like each other. They don't. Stephen A. Smith has come out like really in the video in the last couple of days and is like, hey, look, I don't like you. He doesn't like me. It just is what it is. This stemmed from when LeBron James, he wanted his son, his oldest son, Bronny, to be drafted. So, you know, he started telling teams, this is like a year ago, hey, if you want me to come to your team, you need to draft my son. It's the only way I'm going to sign for you. So I'm going to sign with you if you draft my son. So he held these teams hostage. LeBron James did it. He's the greatest player on the planet right now. Now, he's not the GOAT. Let's stop messing around with that. The GOAT is obviously Jordan, period. Okay, so if you're watching my show and you don't think that Jordan's the GOAT, don't even watch anymore because I don't want to hear your nonsense. Don't even put it in a post because I'm going to delete it. There's no way that Bron's the GOAT. But anyway, but he's a sensitive little baby, LeBron is. So he's telling teams, hey, if you want me to play for you, draft my son. So they do. The Lakers obviously draft him. Bronny James, he's a decent player, but I watched him play when he came here for Tournament of Champions. Nothing impressive. Went to high school career, nothing impressive. Went to USC, played 1 year, nothing impressive, like averaged like 1.9 points a game, something like that. Had this heart defect, which you can't fault the guy from that. But then he gets drafted over even players on his team who had better statistics. Played 1 year, then he gets drafted. And the only reason he got drafted is because he's LeBron James' son. Let's just make no bones about it. So Stephen A. Smith says this stuff. So then LeBron confronts Stephen A. Smith at a game a couple weeks ago and basically goes up to him and says, hey, keep my son's name out your mouth, drops some expletives on him, and then he moves away. Well, then, Stephen A. Smith talks about it because that video went viral, and then they've been going back and forth. LeBron is saying, oh, Stephen A. Smith loves this kind of stuff because it gives him something to talk about, and LeBron's dissing him. He shows a picture of him boxing and saying like he's weak. And it's just like a crazy little teenage girl feud. Well, then over the week, and then, it goes out, Stephen A. Smith comes back and hits back at LeBron James over this last one, and he just kind of like basically goes off on the guy. Because LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show and supposedly told his side of the story, and Stephen A. Smith's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna give it to you straight. So they're feuding here. I got a little clip of this. I'm gonna play this right here.
He puts out some page about me, boxing and all of this other stuff from a decade ago with 2 torn rotator cuffs. Fine, no problem. It's very, very embarrassing video. I'll be the first to say and all that stuff, even though I like it to be left up there. Because if people think I want to throw hands like that, that's how I throw hands, knock yourself out. I'm good with it. I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond. I can tell you that. So we get that out the way. Why do I bring that up? Because that's how petty you've become. You're LeBron James. You that butthurt over the things that I'm saying, that you would post that video. When has LeBron James ever done something like that? But suddenly you're doing that as it pertains to me. This man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT? Because I'll never believe you're the GOAT? Because I have you number 2 at all times? Do I have to have ESPN and First Take put up the ticker tape right now and say, yo, could you put that up there, please? Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great director, great producer, great host, great basketball player, great leader. I mean, my God, I have done everything but put diapers and a bib on this brother. But it ain't enough. because one thing matters to him and one thing only, and that's him being recognized as the greatest of all times. Well, you're not in my book. That belongs to Michael Jordan.
I mean, dude, it's funny, dude. There's some clips on that. This guy, can you say butt hurt? I mean, he's like, I've done everything except for put diapers on this guy. LeBron James is, you know what it comes down to now, this is my old man rant, okay? This younger generation, they're just soft. They get all in their feelings, their emotions. You can't say anything about it. They want all the shine. They want to make 60, 70, 80 million dollars a year. They want to be untouchable. They want to live the lavish life. They want us to listen to everything they say on their social media and on all the stuff they put out. But as soon as you say something constructive or even dare say something criticism about them, well, don't talk about me like that. They get all mad and upset. And as Stephen A. Smith said, butt hurt. Come on, man. You got to have some tough skin. If you're a public figure like that, you're fair game. And the reality is, I think I was looking at the wrong camera. Yeah, the reality is you're able to be talked about, and you don't do everything great, and you're not, all your thoughts and opinions aren't awesome, and sometimes you mess up. LeBron, you basically brought this on yourself because you told people if your son was great enough to be in the NBA, you held them hostage to get him drafted. You put out tweets like, oh, my son's better than half these current NBA players. So then you put that light on him. Now people, the scrutiny, people are going to be going, oh, is he? And the dude isn't. This is you, LeBron. You've done this. And now you're mad that a guy who gets paid to talk about athletes is talking about athletes. I mean, make it make sense to me. Everything an athlete does is not great. They're not good. I don't see Stephen A. Smith getting all personal. And LeBron's like, keep my son's name out of it. No, your son is a professional athlete. That's why Stephen A. Smith started to talk about him. Stephen A. Smith purposefully, and I've been watching him. I follow Stephen A. Smith. I don't think everything he does is great, but he didn't talk about LeBron James when he was in high school or even his little 1 year in college. But although people get paid to talk about college athletes, I mean, that's what all the money that these people are getting with the NIL deals. See, that's the thing. You guys want them to talk about you, but you don't want them to talk about you. Because the more they talk about you and the things that you're doing, the more people are going to view. But they can't always just give all the sunny roses everything. They got to sometimes tell the truth. LeBron James this is indicative of this generation. I like Kevin Durant, but he's a little soft little sucker too. Dude was inventing like burner accounts, ghost accounts to clap back at people who said constructive stuff about him. Why? I'm not even on the level that these guys are on, but people dog me all the time. Sometimes I hit back, but I'm not trying to go and do a fake account to hit back at them. If somebody's going to smack you and you want to smack them back, then do it like a man. Which, by the way, I have found myself spending too much time watching the ultimate slap videos. Have you seen those, the power slaps? Those videos are awesome, dude. I should have put one on just to show you guys. These dudes are like getting knocked out from the slapping competition. First of all, I would never do that. This face is too pretty. Why would anybody do that? It's crazy. But these dudes are getting knocked out for this power slapping stuff. But that these guys want to, they want to like hit back at these, people for talking about them. You got to be able to have a tougher skin. It's absolutely ridiculous that these people don't. And I'm not down with that. LeBron James, you're wrong on this one. You're soft. You need to toughen up. So, hey, my last thing that people are talking about, I got another story, and I saw this story, and then one of my friends, I've had him on the show before, comedian Anthony Ray, had him on the radio with me, had him on the show. He made a little video about this. Hopefully we can play it. But Marvin Sapp, he was one of the Winans, singers of the Winans, the legendary Winans family. He's now a pastor and a bishop, and he was taking up an offering at his church, and he got out of hand. I should have played that first video with him, but what he does is he's like, hey, I want you guys to lock the doors. Ushers, lock the doors. I'm serious, because nobody's leaving out of here until we get $40,000. I'm like, I saw this because people send me stuff all the time. They're like, oh, aren't you a pastor? I'm like, that's a bad one. He goes on. He's like, lock the doors. There's 1,000 of you guys in here. We should be able to get $40,000. People watching online, nobody leaves. I'm serious. He's like, lock them doors. I'm serious. Lock the doors. No, Marvin Sapp, and I like you. No, and I get it. I fundraise as well. I'm in ministry. I travel. I speak. I lead a nonprofit ministry. I get that you want, you need support, but no, bro, you can't do that. So my friend Anthony Ray, comedian Anthony Ray, he weighs in on it. Do we have that video? Is it going to be able to play? Here's what my friend Anthony Ray, comedian Anthony Ray, says about that.
Hey, this your boy, comedian Mr. Anthony Ray, a.k.a. the note holder. Yeah. I don't give advice because I believe if you're 25 years or older, you should know better. But I will say, can somebody, anybody, everybody tell me what in the never would have made it is going on with Marvin Sapp? They tell me that he ordered the ushers to shut the doors, lock the people inside the church, nobody get in, nobody get out, until he got $40,000. Let me say that again for the person who just walked in and said, what? Yes. They said that Marvin Sapp told the ushers to lock the doors and keep the people inside the church until he got $40,000. Now, ain't that hostage? Holding people hostage? You go to jail for that. Think about that. You can't get out the church or leave the church until we get $40,000. I thought about it, and I'm going to tell you right now, it would have been me, I've been like this. Never will pay it. Open these doors so I can leave. Ooh, yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know what time it is. It's nighttime.
Listen, I can't say it any better. Anthony Ray, comedian Anthony Ray, you got to check him out. He's a funny guy. So, hey, that's all we got this time on Frontline Faith with Alex Bryant. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, go to the Frontline Faith Facebook page. Make sure you like and subscribe that. We got, that's our page. We'll be putting a lot of our content on there. Let your friends know. Thank you for Congressman Mark Alford for joining me on the show, comedian Anthony Ray. Shout out to you as well. And that's all we got. Until next time, we'll be back next week with something, sometime, somewhere. We out. Word.